All right, we are live. This is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm attorney Vince Davis, and I'm joined by two special guests this evening. The first one is my co-host, Cassandra Woodard. Hello, Miss Woodard. How are you this evening?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. And also we are joined by another co-host, Miss G, Georgette Truan. Miss G, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good, thank you.
Alrighty. Well, we had apparently, according to our producer, a guest who couldn't make it today and wanted to reschedule. So we're kind of open. And what I would suggest is Cassandra has indicated to me before we started the show that there's an article she wanted to go over. So we'll do that. And then maybe we can take questions from both Cassandra and Miss G and from the audience. So if you're watching and you want to post some questions on the live stream, go ahead and post and I'll try to answer them. And that's what the show will be this evening. So Cassandra, go ahead. Tell us about the article you were mentioning.
I got this article from civilbeat.org, and it's a website about news and stuff that's going in Honolulu in Hawaii, not in California or anything, but it's the United States. And it's a little series called Hawaii versus Parental Rights. And one of the articles that I found was, it says, just a number. Parents who face losing their kids say court-appointed attorneys don't do enough. And it talks about how basically validating everything Miss G says about court-appointed attorneys that don't do enough. And they did some statistics and some like interviews and asking for client side of the stories and how they had court-appointed attorneys who didn't do anything for them, where they had to do stuff themselves. And also they try to get the court-appointed attorney side of the story. And out of all the court-appointed attorneys that they asked, only 4 responded. So, and it talks about how the appellate court doesn't approve parents for their appeals, even though they see the flaws in the court system. Like, even though they see the flaws, they still don't approve their appeals in half the cases.
So
Wow, what do you
this
know?
is in the state of Hawaii.
Yes, it's called civilbeat.org. And it's a whole web series about Hawaii versus the parental rights.
Now, was this for the entire state or just for the island of Kauai?
This was just for Hawaii, because I got this article from the Child Welfare Gateway that I get all my articles from. And I was going down and I was reading them, and they give it to you in different states. Like, they give you a state which each article is in. And I was just scrolling through them, and I seen this one, and it just like caught my eye because, we talk about this quite often about how court-appointed attorneys aren't doing as much as they say that they are, or that it seems like they would do. And it gives them examples about how and why these court-appointed attorneys aren't doing enough for their clients, and stories and stuff from the clients that state that they had to subpoena their own files, find their own police reports, and then when they do that, the court-appointed attorney still doesn't want to take it from them, even though they told them to file these or find these things, because they said that they couldn't.
You said the article talked about the why, the how and why of the court-appointed attorneys not doing their job. Did it? Can you tell us specifically some of the reasons?
Well, one of the reasons is they're saying that the pay and how they get paid through the state judiciary and not from an actual client. That's one of the big reasons why they don't do what they're supposed to do. And they they try to get responses from the court appointed attorneys, and the ones that responded denied the facts, and the ones that didn't respond, that was all of them almost. Like only 4 responded to their whole question in the from the civil beat. Like they're a news place, they went and interviewed people, and only 4 of them responded. And the 4
For
that did respond, they denied all the
d-
I can't say that word
accusation.
accusations.
Can you tell me how many? You said 4 responded. How many were sent out? 5, 50, 100,
I
1,000?
don't think I don't think it said, but let me see. I'll scroll down and see if they said. It said Civil Beat reached out to more than a dozen court-appointed attorneys and to hear their side, and only 4 responded.
Okay, so about what's that? 33% responded. Interesting. What was the date or the year on that article?
Oh, it was just yesterday.
Oh, so just something very current, because on our shows, the things that you just said have been mentioned by Miss G in her discussions about her feelings about court-appointed attorneys, and I guess she had her own experience, right, Miss G, with a court-appointed attorney, and
I am talking about everybody's experience, Mr. Davis. It's not just
everyone,
one
every
person.
everyone that you talked
Everyone,
to.
that is correct.
Okay.
And throughout the times I've been working with you, that's more than 500 people. So all having the same stories, all having the same experiences, all from different counties, different states. So if it's more than one person telling you the same thing based on your experience as well, there's something not adding up.
Right. So you say you've talked to more than 500 people. I have a surprise for you. You talked to about 350 to 400 people per month. Did you know that?
I do know that. I
Yeah.
work and I
So
understand
it's
that.
it's way more than 500 people you've talked to.
Okay, well, it's more than 500 people, so
And these are people all over the country.
all over the states.
You know, it it just makes me very uncomfortable that these people from all over are saying the same thing. It leads me to believe that there's something wrong with the system.
It's not about pay. I just want to correct that. It's not about pay. They get paid whether they work on cases or not. A court appointed attorney can make between 98,000 for the beginners, that is, to 179,000 a year. So they make enough money. So if anybody says it's because of the pay, that's bullshit, because this is public record. I'm actually looking at it on the internet right now. So
Well, you know what? To a certain extent, though, Miss G, it does have to do with pay, and I'll tell you why. If you compare a court-appointed attorney and a private attorney, the court-appointed attorney doesn't have to do anything to get a client. Just physically being at court, the court or the judge will appoint them a client. That's not true for private attorneys. As a matter of fact, right before the show, I talked to someone um, who has a case in Southern California, who interviewed, including me. She said more than 10 attorneys, 10 private attorneys. And, she ranked everyone from top to bottom. And, she's trying to make a decision on who to hire. Court appointed attorneys don't have to go through that. As a matter of fact, this person has a court appointed attorney that she was just assigned by the court. So, in a certain extent, if you're in private practice and your reputation depends on if you do a good job, that's kind of linked to pay, right? But if you're just somebody that you don't have to do anything because you're just getting appointed as the attorney, You don't have to, you don't have that consideration or that worry. When I was a court appointed attorney, decades ago, um, I didn't have to do any marketing. I didn't have to have a website. I don't even think they had websites back then. But, you know, I just go to court and show up and, I would be appointed a client. And whether I did a good job or a bad job or in the middle job, I was still appointed clients. Um, but yeah, so I do think it's maybe indirectly tied to compensation or the ability to get compensation. Go ahead, Cassandra.
On the article, it says one issue may be how lawyers are paid. The rate for a court appointed attorney with contracts is $150 per case per month, with an annual minimum of per case of $1,800. Paying attorneys a flat rate as opposed to an hourly amount creates the incentive to do as little as possible, said Jeanette Sherwood, a California attorney with decades of experience in child welfare and trial appellate counsel, and an advocate and judge.
Yeah, Jeanette Sherwood is like one of the leading experts in CPS cases, and I forget, she sits as a judge, I think on a temporary basis in a couple of counties. I've actually taken some of her courses. She has training courses for lawyers, and she's an expert, in this area of law. Um, and I noticed that when Los Angeles County used to pay their court-appointed attorneys by the hour, and when they changed to flat rate per case, I noticed a drop in the level of advocacy, just because there was no financial incentive, just on a whole, on a general whole, and that's a tough thing to do, just from an economic standpoint, and I guess people are like water, they find the easiest path down the hill. So yeah, I can see that happen, and I would agree with Miss Sherwood if they quoted her. That's interesting that a newspaper or some type of organization in Hawaii interviewed Miss Sherwood.
Yeah. And she said the minute they do any work on a case, they are shooting themselves in the foot, she said. And then, of course, the attorney are still bound by the professional standards. It shouldn't matter how much you're being paid, Sherwood says.
Right. No,
Yeah.
she's absolutely true. One of the things that happened, and it will seem like a very short period of time and I think this happened when they went to the flat rate system in LA County. At some point, and they changed it quickly, but at some point, if you were the court appointed attorney and you had to subpoena somebody to come to court to be a witness for your client, that came out of the amount that the county was paying you. So that had a tendency to, had a chilling effect on attorneys subpoenaing witnesses to court if it was coming out of their pocket. Of course, that policy didn't last very long because I think the court realized what, they were trying to save money. And then all of a sudden they realized, well, wait a minute, we did the wrong thing. Because you're kind of pitting the client against the attorney in terms of money, right? So yeah, I can definitely see how the economics plays a part in, being a court appointed attorney. Any questions or comments you have, Miss G?
Um, there is oftentimes people say that the court appointed attorneys will do nothing in their case, which is true, obviously, but they don't. They also work with the social workers. They actually have communication with the actual social worker who is against one parent. And oftentimes in the juvenile dependency court system, they don't favor the mother, they favor the father. If there's abuse against the father, they favor the abuser. Regardless, always favor the abuser. And I had a call today that's very similar to a call I had yesterday as well. It's in Santa Maria County. Her children were taken from her in 2009. And in 2009, she actually went to jail because she was protecting her sister. Her sister, somebody was threatening her, and she took over as protecting her sister family, and she was the one arrested. Anyways, her sister didn't stand up for her, even though she was helping her sister. She went to jail. So CPS removed the children from her. The children are now 12 and 13 years old. The adoptive foster family that took the children sexually molested the children, abused the children drastic, like really bad. The kids had bruises and all kinds of shit on them, and violence against them. One of the children ran away. Then she had to come back. She was forced to come back. And the mother hired a private investigator who saw that that foster parent home in another state had offender and abuse, sexual abuse on minors before. But yet CPS used them as foster parents without doing a thorough background check. So how can they, in my heart, I don't understand how they can take children from good family, but yet put the children in harm's way in a foster home. That's messed up. It doesn't make sense. Other people tell me they take pictures, like when they're having Zoom camera visitation with their kids, they see alcohol on the table, alcohol bottles and shot glasses and a bag of marijuana on the table. They take a snapshot of it, shows it to the social worker, and the social worker's reaction is, well, everybody has to drink someday in front of minors. But if they go to a home, check the home, and God forbid they see a wine bottle, the parent is alcoholic. So this is dynamic everywhere in the United States. Everywhere. This is happening everywhere in the United States. And now they want to brush it under the rug like nothing happened. She reported it to the state general, I think she said. And Attorney General. And then the Attorney General never really got back to her, ever. Never got back to her. It's been over a month. The daughter found her mom on TikTok. She wrote her, it was touching. I read it. She said, I want to see a picture of my dad. Like, like remind me of my dad and you. And then she said, Mom, we've been abused. We've been, hit. We've been violated. And nobody's helping us. And the mother, I mean, it's sad. So when the foster parent saw that the child is sending information to her mom, she broke the children's cell phone. The mother was frantic, obviously, and she reported them to the police, and then the police, got involved. However, the police can't do much. They can't do much because she's the adoptive foster family. So the kids are suffering, but they're telling the kids they have to stay in an abusive home rather than save them. If the children want to return back home, it's not because they're abused, it's because they've not been abused. A child that doesn't want to go home are the children who are really being abused. And with our court system, what's sad is that a judge cannot tell the difference between an abuser and a victim. They see the emotional parent as the abuser, but they see the calm parent as the victim. And there is no, extensive studies or, training for these judges at all. And that's really bad. Really bad. Like oftentimes I see a narcissist gain custody of children who a psychiatrist says this fucking father is dangerous for the children. But yet the judge sees it as it's okay. But the mother is the one that gets punished for protecting her children. There's so much going on, so much dynamic going on. If the mother is protecting the children, she failed to protect. But how did she fail to protect? Because she married the abuser. Did she know he's an abuser before she married him? Absolutely not. Therefore, the abuser gets the children while the mother gets nothing. So oftentimes I hear people say, oh, mothers get everything in the court system. That's a lie. All this shifted in 2008 or 2007. Before 2007, the mothers were heard. In 2007 and beginning of 2008, that's when everything shifted and everything was against the mom and the fathers were favored. It's like a whole new dynamic. A mother now, almost every mother I spoke to pays the father child support, even if the father is making $20,000 a month, which is sad. And then the mothers are struggling and still trying to fight to gain custody of their children, but they're forced to work 2, 3 jobs to make ends meet. And the court system sees the mother as it's like the forbidden fruit to the children, when they don't realize that so many studies has been done, when the psychiatrist is literally saying that you're traumatizing children when you're taking them away from a good mother, because children are attached, they're bonded with the mother from birth. They have a bond. You can't just break that bond suddenly. The children are traumatized, but in order for them to keep the children silent, they medicate them. They're more money for the pharmaceutical companies and more money for the social workers, and everybody makes money from the child's pain. And the mother is going through trauma throughout living her years on earth, trying to gain custody or trying to even see her children. And mothers are fighters. And that's why mothers are the life givers. And they're not respected enough. They're not respected enough. I'm sorry. Even a father, like a father called me today. He said, my wife doesn't work. I work. I do everything. I do da 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 da. Okay, well, what does she do? She cooks, cleans. She takes care of the kids to school. She takes care of their homework. She drives them. She picks them up. She aids them. She takes them to the doctor visits. She does all that. And she cleans the home while I go work. I'm like, isn't that work? Because I remember my dad telling me that's work. My mom did a lot of work. That if my dad hired a maid that does everything my mom did, it would be at least 200, 400,000 a year. So to me, people are not respecting women enough. The system is not respecting mothers enough. And they're going against mother after mother after mother after mother. And I just want you guys, I know Eric asked if I voted today. Eric, I did vote. I hope you voted too, and I hope everybody else did. Like we said before in the show, we have to vote, guys, to make a difference. That's all I have to say.
Are you comfortable with telling us who you voted for? Somebody was asking about that earlier.
Am I comfortable to say? No.
Okay, I'm just asking. All right.
I didn't vote for Bass, if that's what you're asking.
No,
For
they were
who?
asking. She said, I bet she voted Republican.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh, there it is.
Macy, I love you. You read my mind, baby girl.
I wonder what led Macy to believe that you voted Republican.
Because the Democrats are a shithole right now.
Okay. At least we know how you feel.
I do.
All right. Miss Woodard, anything else in that article we might find interesting?
Um, It's a really long article. I would just
Oh,
suggest everybody go and like look, check it out. Like there's a whole series about
how
different.
about how about this? How about we post it, a link
Okay.
to it, um, in the chat? Are you're able to see the chat? Are you also able to post?
No, I'm not able to post on the chat, but
Okay,
I
so
can.
if you text me, or how it would be the easiest way.
I'll copy it to the private chat, and then you could post it in the
Perfect.
comments.
And then I'll post it for everyone, and then everyone can go and grab the article and read it themselves. You know, are you guys aware of any celebrities that have been involved in CPS cases?
Ooh,
Yes.
I do.
Okay, I'm not asking any names, but how did you find out about these celebrities being involved?
Well, actually, no, I take that back. They haven't been involved in CPS, but they're been like accused, like been told that they need like CPS in their lives, or they've had it happen or investigated, but they weren't in it. And I
By the
read it in
way,
an article.
okay. By the way, I just posted the link that Cassandra gave us for that article on all the webs, on all the streams, all the platforms. So if you're on Facebook, or depending on what page, or YouTube or whatever, you'll be able to see that link. Um, Miss G, you did I see you raise your hand about celebrities being involved in CPS?
No, I just opened my mouth.
Okay. Have you ever, don't say any names, but have you ever read anything perhaps about a celebrity being involved in CPS?
Yes,
Okay. Like in the newspaper or whatever?
it was on the news.
Oh, on the news. Okay. Unlike on the television news?
It was on YouTube news.
Oh, YouTube. Okay. Alrighty. You know, I
But
won't.
celebrities, there's a lot of celebrities that their children should be removed from them. I have so many names I can mention. So many.
But we won't
Um,
mention
but
names.
I'm not saying I'm mentioning any. I'm just saying I have so many
Okay.
names. However, their kids are not going to be removed from them. They do drugs. They do cocaine. They drink excessively in front of their children. They spread their ass and their private part on crap parties that they do in their homes while their children is there crying. But yet, because they have the money, the fame, and the title, they're untouchable. But you go to the average person taking, uh, what do you call that? What do you call the oil, Cassandra? That oil, marijuana thingy oil. Um, it's not marijuana, but it's something else. Uh,
CBD?
yes, the CBD. So basically, some people use CBD to calm them, or put them to sleep, or whatever. They have joint pain or whatever. It's not marijuana, but it's the oil.
Okay, hold on a second. CBD doesn't have THC in it.
Okay,
Okay, so it doesn't get you high or anything like that.
I know that, but the social workers
But there
also.
but there are oils that you can buy, at least in California legally, that is almost pure TCH
THC.
and THC, right? And people use it through different means. They smoke it, vape it, whatever. That's the ingredient that causes you to be intoxicated. The
Right.
THC, not the CBD.
Okay,
Okay.
regardless, it doesn't matter either way. But if they're using it to put them, to relax them at nighttime, what have you, not excessively, very small amount, they take their children from them, even if it's doctor, prescribed. Even if the doctor prescribed it for a condition or a back injury or something that parent had. But
Mhm.
yet all these stars, they do cocaine, they smoke weed, walking on the stage and performing, and they have children with them on their back on a concert, and it's okay. CPS doesn't get involved then. So it's really, they protect the rich, but they go after the poor.
Hmm.
So they attack the poor that can't afford an attorney to fight for their case, and they have to settle for a piece of shit court appointed attorney who will do nothing for them.
You,
Absolutely nothing.
let me ask you something, Miss G. Do you find that surprising that they attack the poor?
They attack the, no, I don't find that surprising. They attack the poor because they know they can't fucking afford an attorney.
But isn't that the way human beings are across the board?
No, that's not how a human being should be. Or this is not even a title of a human being. That's a title of a possessed demonic asshole who takes advantage of the poor and the needy. Instead of you helping them, even if they're homeless, if they lost their job, instead of you helping them, you're hindering them while you're helping the foster parents. Why would you help a foster parent and not help the mother or the father of the child? You don't take advantage of the poor. You take advantage of the poor, you're not human. You're not human.
You know, before the sh- the show ending this evening, there's something that I want to explain, and I used this tactic recently in a case. There is something called a motion in limine. Have you ever heard that term, Cassandra?
No.
Miss G?
Nope.
Okay. At the time of trial, in any type of trial, in California at least, you can make a motion in limine. And it means that you're making a motion to prevent the other side from presenting certain types of evidence, or perhaps certain witnesses, or perhaps certain exhibits. Okay. Now, if you start a case and you are able to keep out some of your opponent's witnesses or exhibits, obviously that gives you a big advantage during the trial. So I used this recently in a case, and the way the California rules are written, um, in most cases, not all, you can make a motion in limine just on the day of the trial. And unless the judge provides otherwise, you can make it on the day of trial, and you can do it orally. Now, in a lot of cases, especially in federal court and a lot of civil trial cases, you have to give some type of notice for the motion. It's, in the local rules or something. But I showed up in a case and I made a motion in limine to exclude certain evidence. And generally, you can use this in a CPS case where you have requested informal discovery. I call it informal, but it's really formal discovery from the social worker and the minor's attorney, because you got to make sure you ask both of them, and they don't respond to your request. They like just blow it off. And the rules in California, California rules of court specifically say that if discovery is not exchanged when requested, there are penalties for the person not putting forth or giving that information. So in this particular case, I made a motion to exclude all of the other side's witnesses and all of the other side's exhibits, because in discovery they never gave that information to me. Okay. Now there's a lot of reasons why the law wants you to exchange information, before you get to trial. One of the main reasons is because they're hoping that if you know each other's hand, you can resolve the case without a trial and without the court having to spend time doing a trial. Another reason is there's a rule in California that says that we're not going to have trial by surprise. In other words, your opponent doesn't get to show up at court with the surprise witness when you've asked, well, what witnesses are you, putting forth in the case? Oh, and they left, their secret witness off the list, and then they just show up with this witness, or the same for documents, right? So when you're doing these CPS cases, consider with your attorney making different types of motion in limine And one of the things that I tell people, that work with us anyway, Georgette, is you should always send out discovery, because you might find information that might be helpful in resolving the case, that, these smoking gun evidence against your client, or you're likely to find exculpatory evidence that the social worker has that helps exonerate your client. Okay? So it's important to do that discovery and then make the motion in limine if they don't produce the information. Now, let me tell you what happened in the trial. When I made the motion, the judge had a lot of questions for me, because the judge couldn't believe that I didn't have that information, and I did, and that I requested it. So it put the other side at a big disadvantage starting the trial. And it forced the other side to take a break from the trial that was just starting and try to resolve some issues with me. And we ended up resolving the case in favor of my client. All right. So it gives you a lot of tactical advantages. Now, when you go into court, one of the things that you have to think of, everybody thinks, well, justice is going to be served here because my sense of justice says I'm a good mother and I should win. Well, that's not exactly how things work out in a courtroom. So what you're looking for are all the tactical and evidentiary advantages you can have, because it gives you more power in terms of the courtroom, in terms of the procedure, and you're gaining favor from the judge, or getting the judge to lean your way in the case, because the judge knows the other side's supposed to give me information that I'm asking for. And if they start the case knowing that I haven't gotten that information, in my mind, most judges are kind of be thinking, well, wait a minute, what's going on? Why isn't this guy playing by the rules? So it's always good to consider making motions in limines. Now, I'm not saying you should do it in every case, okay? But it's one of those things that you must consider when you're preparing the case for trial. Now, here's something interesting. Both of you are veterans of CPS cases, right? And you've never heard of motion in limines. Do you find that surprising?
No.
No? Right. So I bet there are a lot of things out there, that that should be considered when preparing your case, especially for a trial. So one of the things I wanted to announce, and I'm going to be asking for Miss G's assistance and probably Miss Cassandra's assistance, is I wrote a book about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's called The Secret: How to Fight CPS and Win. And I've never updated that book. And I plan on updating the book. It's sold on Amazon, and someone recently contacted me and said, it wasn't for a person from Amazon, but said basically, this book was written, 5 or 6 years ago. Why haven't you updated it? And I thought to myself, that's a very good question. I haven't updated it. And I'm going to be asking both of you to assist me in updating the book so we can publish, hopefully, the second edition by the beginning of the year in January 2023. And although it's sold on Amazon, we give copies away. I know Miss G gives a lot of copies away, which I don't mind. And we even have the book digitally, where we can email you the book or we can text you the book. So if at any time anybody wants a copy of the book, a digital copy, or even a hard copy, please contact Miss G at gat@vincentwdavis.com. gat@vincentwdavis.com. And Miss G will just send you a copy of the book. And, I wrote that book for parents and relatives. I didn't write it for lawyers. I didn't write it for judges. It's not on that legalistic level. It's to give you a 30,000-foot overview of the process, because a lot of you come into CPS cases and you relate that experience or that CPS case to the experience you had in your criminal case, or the experience you had in a civil case when you were suing someone or being sued, to your car accident case, to your workers' compensation case. And these CPS cases are totally different. So when you are, thinking about, uh, you're involved in a CPS case and you're thinking about how things should be strategized or implemented, it's important that you have an overview. I get so many times, people call me and say, "This happened today." It's kind of interesting. It happened today, and the person that called me was an employee for the court, not for the CPS department, but the court in general for that particular county. And I think they believe that CPS cases can be easily continued, just like if you were in a criminal case. And it's not true. As a matter of fact, the rules in CPS cases disfavor continuances almost of any kind. You usually have to have blood gushing from your head laying in the emergency room in order to get a continuance. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but they're not easily and routinely given like most people think in a civil case or in a criminal
Even if you
case.
had blood gushing down from your head, they don't give a shit. You're dealing with a narcissistic system. They don't give a damn, really. So, sorry, that's not going to help.
Deidre says, I wish parents could get a copy of your book right when they get involved with a CPS case. That would be really good. Miss G, I never thought about this, but maybe we should just post it on the different social media pages that we have. Here's a copy of the book.
There's I want to tell everybody this. If you guys are dealing with, if you guys had a family law case that turned into a CPS case because of your ex piece of crap, um, you know, stupid allegations. I want you guys to understand, in order for you to beat a narcissist in a court custody case, there's on TikTok, there's Judge Anthony. He's amazing. I'm falling in love with this guy right here. Judge Anthony. He actually tells everybody how to beat a narcissist in court. He's actually a judge, you guys. And and it's, you can just go sign up, and he'll give you some really good advice and feedback. And also, you have to understand too that you are dealing with a narcissistic system. And oftentimes you guys call me and you say, Georgette, the social worker is very nice to me, I trust her. This is all bullshit talk, just really bullshit talk. Okay, because you guys need to study narcissism. You guys really need to study psychology. I freaking I buried myself in books studying different types of behavior. It's very important for you guys to gain knowledge of who you're dealing with. Narcissists say one thing but do the complete opposite. And fake promises are just another tool in their arsenal to elude you in the moment and then never stick with anything of it. So basically, they want to establish trust from you. So when you guys tell me a social worker is being nice to you, what makes you think the social worker is on your side? She just wants to gain trust, or he or she wants to gain trust from you. That's all they want, is trust from you. So do not think the social worker is your family or your best friend. You know, they're not. They want you to trust them enough to keep opening your mouth. And oftentimes I get people like today, she said, I wish I listened to you before I talked to the social worker. Why? She said, well, when I was 16, I tried marijuana. The mother is now 59. That was gazillion years ago. But I don't do it ever since I was 16. Why even mention it? You're giving too much information that wasn't necessary. You're not doing drugs now. But because she made that statement, the social worker wrote down that she does drugs. She got a hair follicle test that she paid for that showed that their drug test was a false positive. And yet, her court appointed attorney didn't want to open up the subject in court to show that she's innocent. He didn't want it submitted into court, the hair follicle test. So now she's losing custody of her kids because she trusted the social worker. But then she said that after that, the social worker turned against her. And then another one came that was a bitch from hell. So you guys have to understand there's a good cop, bad cop attitude with the system. So you're dealing with a narcissistic government, period. So you need to understand that talking too much to the wrong person will be held against you. That's with anybody. I don't even need to be an attorney to know that. People will take your information that you're innocently offering, and later on, they're going to use that information and add salt and pepper to it and make it worse. So just a little bit of advice. But Judge Anthony is very good to watch you guys on TikTok.
Okay. Speaking of TikTok, Miss G, I'm going to try to verify something with you on TikTok. So be checking your text messages, okay? Hey, we've come to the end of the
Oh, my
show.
phone is blocked. I'm sorry. I don't get text messages.
Okay. We'll find another way. Must be a good reason for that. I want to thank everybody for listening this evening. Thank you, Miss Cassandra, for joining us. Thank you, Miss G, for joining us. And we'll see everyone tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Good night, all.